All right, guys, in today's video, we're gonna go over 3 archery tips before your next hunt. All right, guys, I'm here with the legend Kyle Douglas. We're here at the Baku Center. Today, we're gonna go over 3 must-know archery tips before your next hunt. We don't wanna screw up your next hunt, so these are a couple things you need to know. First one, we're gonna go over your overall string health. What should we know about the string?
So this late in the season, you're probably too late to get a new string before the hunt starts if you know it's worn out or something like that. But 2 things you probably want to really check would be D-loop for any frays or getting worn out there. Releases, if they have like a burr or something on them, they'll tend to like catch that and fray your D-loop up. Or if it's been on there for a really long time, that'll wear out. Once they start to fray on here, they go pretty quickly. So if you have some fuzzies on there, you probably want to bring it in and get a new one. The other thing is going to be peep twist on here. That's the last thing that you want to deal with when you draw back on an animal, is to not be able to see through your peep.
And this actually cost me a really big bear over bait. A bear stepped into my bait. I came to full draw. It was getting dark. Let down, had to hurry and twist. By the time I came back to full draw, the bear had already left the bait.
Yeah, bad day.
Yeah, really bad day. So I did notice on this, before I shoot it, I have to twist it, and I don't want to have to do that in the field, because that cost me an extra second. That could be an extra second I don't have on a buck or a bull.
Yep.
So I definitely want to fix that. What about this string, how it's kind of fraying a little bit there? What do you think?
That's nothing to worry about. I mean, until it starts getting pretty fuzzy on there, it's not a big deal at all. You can put a little bit of string wax on it, and that'll kind of, you know, put those back into the string. It's never going to fix the broken strand, so it's not like it's going to repair a worn out string just by waxing it. But a little bit of wax here and there really doesn't hurt anything. You know, I'm pretty low on the wax. I very rarely do I ever wax mine, but a lot of guys will put a little bit on here and rub it in really good. You don't want to put too much wax on there though, because it's going to collect a lot of dust into your string, and then you're constantly having to like strip it off and clean it out and everything like that. So cool. Less is more on wax.
All right. Let's do a quick test here. I'm going to come to full draw. We'll see where the peep's at and see if I can see. And
okay.
Without having to adjust it. All right, so I'm going to knock an arrow here. I'm not going to twist my peep. And we're going to see where I can add at full draw, see how well I can see here. It's not bad. I think it could.
It does have some slight twist to it.
Yeah, I think we could give it a little bit here. Notice that I wouldn't be able to get 2 shots out of that.
Yeah, so we'll just probably want to put a half a twist, looks like out of the string, and that should line that back up straight again.
Cool.
Don't have to worry about that.
All right, let's go put a half twist in it.
Okay, so we're just going to put, take a half a twist out of the string here, and that should line up that peep a little bit better. Typically when we're doing this, you know, it depends on the bow and the string and stuff, but usually if you're working with the bottom end of the string, 1 full twist will get you about 90 degrees of peep rotation. So we're just a little bit off there, so we'll do a half a twist, and that should line it up just how we want it. Sometimes you do want to shoot it, you know, once or twice after we add or take away a twist in the string there, just to kind of let it settle back to where it normally would go. And we'll line the D-loop back up with the peep there. Cinch that down a little bit.
Now, typically a half twist, what did you say there?
So 1 full twist, if you're working on the bottom end of the string, 1 full twist typically will be about 90 degrees of peep rotation, depending on the bow and how much twist you got in your string and stuff like that.
Okay.
So.
All right, let's shoot it and see how it lines up. All right, here we go. I'm gonna come to full draw, make sure this peep lines up. I don't want this to cost me a buck or bull of a lifetime. Or an extra day in the field, then my wife would kill me, so.
Much better.
Much better. We'll go one more, see if it holds for a second shot.
Yeah, it should.
Yeah, that's nice not having to adjust that now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Feels good, man.
Perfect.
Yeah. All right. So we went over the overall string health. Check the D-loop, obviously. I corrected the peep slightly. Added a half twist there. String's in pretty good condition. don't overwax. What are we gonna look at next?
So the next thing would probably be, checking for loose screws and stuff. Bows have a lot of vibration in them, and screws tend to always try and work their way loose. So you just kind of want to check over everything really quick and make sure nothing's worked its way out. Mod screws are going to be something that's always trying to come loose on you, like screws on your rests and stuff, or screws on your sight, are going to be kind of the most important ones to check over. One thing that you can do as well is if you take your bow and just lightly kind of just hold your fingers around the grip here, and then you can just kind of pound on the limb pockets, and you'll hear it like a buzzing sound if something's loose. Then you can just kind of find it that way. Sometimes that won't show everything, but most of the time that'll show you if something's really loose. You'll hear a buzzing sound when you do that, and you can whack on that pocket pretty good, and it's not going to do nothing to your bow.
So give it a little whack test. Hear anything there?
Yeah, so this one, your little deal here is gonna hit your arrow. So like if we take your arrows out, or just that one arrow even, yeah, so you can hit that. This sight has just a little bit of slop in it that you can't get rid of, so you'll hear that moving. But yeah, there will be like a buzzing sound or something like that most of the time when something's loose. Mod screws sometimes kind of hide that, and you don't hear them buzzing or anything, but those ones tend to always try and come loose. Just check those top and bottom. Any bow that's got a mod on it, whether it's adjustable or a mod specific bow, those screws can still come loose on you.
So we should probably still put it in the press and just go through it, just a little light go through.
Yeah, we don't even need a press. We can just take some Allen wrenches and go through everything and make sure you're good to go. So one thing on your Matthews here, these axle screws, you don't want to crank those tight. Those are supposed to just barely touch the outside of the limb. A lot of people think those are loose, so they really crank them tight, and then that's going to wear out the bearings in your bow way faster than
so
they
don't
normally
over-tighten
would.
those.
Yep, yeah. So just don't even touch those. If you can see a gap in here or something where it's backed out, then just touch it till it just barely touches the limb, and then you're tight enough on those guys.
What about with the rest? Anything there that we should?
Not really. So usually like your horizontal adjustment, and then these are your two vertical adjustment screws on the rest. Are the only ones that you really need to worry about on there. Maybe the two screws holding down your launcher blade, or your mounting bolt there. On your sight, anything that's a lockdown screw, so maybe like this one here for your third axis, these two screws here for your vertical and your second axis, your windage screw, all your pins, even like the screws that hold the housing to the rod there. Of course, like your mounting screw here for your dovetail.
Let's give it a quick one over.
Okay, so we're just going to check like your mod screws and stuff here real quick. Now these guys are a small screw, so you don't want to strip that out. So get that wrench in there and tighten that guy.
Any looseness there? Or?
Nope, that one was good. That one moved just a little bit. Yeah, we should be good there. One other thing on the strings that I forgot to talk about earlier. This would be more for like a worn out string to check, but especially on bows that have a mod that has a sharp corner here, when that cable wraps around that corner, it tries to separate it. So you'll see serving separation, and that's where your strings will get chewed up. So you do see guys come in that haven't switched their strings for a really long time that get really dangerous right there. They'll start cutting through strands and stuff. So that may be one quick spot to check, like if you haven't replaced your strings for a while. Okay, so check these guys. That was good and tight. That one's good and tight too. Everything should be pretty good to go on here.
Doesn't hurt to do a third axis check, right?
Yeah, you can always check your sight level and make sure nothing's been bumped.
Don't send it through like you did last time.
Hey, that's not my hole. I'm not claiming that one. Yeah, it looks good.
Cool. Shouldn't miss a buck due to third axis.
Nope.
Right?
If you miss one, it's your fault at this point.
Third and final, it seems like nobody does it. It is broadhead tuning and shooting your broadheads in advance before your hunt. So what we're going to do, I shoot a Sever 1.5 for deer and elk. We're going to thread a 1.5 on and give it a little spin test. Now, what are we looking for here, Kyle?
So on this, we're just looking for wobble on the end of your arrow here. And usually that either comes from your components being out of line, or the broadhead ferrule's a little bit bent or something like that. So to tune these in, you're just going to take and spin that. And that one's spinning pretty good. There's just a very slight bit of wobble on the end of that tip. So if it's bad, what I will tend to do is take a piece of cardboard. If you've got wobble on the end of your broadhead here, the easiest way to tell the high point and the low point on that is put a piece of cardboard or something here. And usually you just poke a little hole with the broadhead when it's sitting level. And then as you spin that, you'll see the tip make a circle. And then you can tell where the high point and the low point is. At that point, you would find it on the low point, keep it out and hold it straight like that. And then I just take them on the table and just kind of push down on them a little bit and just bend that ferrule back straight. Usually that happens with broadheads you've shot a lot, practicing or whatever, and they'll get a little bit of a bend to it. So just straighten that back out and then put it back on the spinner. And you can check it again, or you can put it up against the piece of cardboard and make sure things are spinning the way that they need to spin. That's going to be crucial to good broadhead flight, is having one that spins good. If it don't spin good, it's not going to fly good.
What will you see if it's off kilter? Will you see a little bit of a drift in the arrow?
That particular arrow, it'll just be real sporadic, and it's just going to shoot weird. And it's not going to group with the rest of them usually. So that is one thing you're going to always want to practice with your broadheads. Nobody practices with their broadheads enough, I don't think. They're going to fly different than field tips do. I have yet to find a single broadhead that ever flies exactly like a field tip. You may find some that fly like one out to maybe 50, 60 yards, but if you get out, if you keep pushing it to its limits, you're going to find a point where it flies different. It might not be till 120 yards, but they will all fly different. On broadhead tuning, there's kind of two schools of thought. Some guys will refer to broadhead tuning as like spinning your arrows and making sure that the broadheads are spinning straight. Some guys refer to broadhead tuning as like actually moving your rest on your bow to try and make your broadheads hit with your field tips. To me, I want my broadhead spinning straight, and I want my bow tuned through paper really well. I want to be shooting a bullet hole through paper. Usually at that point, my broadheads are going to fly really well, unless I have another issue. If my arrow's underspined, if I don't have enough vein on the back end or something like that, that can really cause big issues when you throw broadheads on. But to me, broadheads react differently, aerodynamically than a field tip does. There's going to be drag on a broadhead. I don't care what broadhead you're shooting, there is going to be drag on it because there's some sort of exposed blade or something on there. So they're going to hit different. The way I look at it, if my broadheads are shooting really good groups, I love the way they're shooting, I'm just going to move my sight to my broadheads. A lot of times what I see is guys will try and, their broadheads are hitting 3 inches low of their field tips, and they're going to try and move their rest to get their broadheads to hit a little bit higher. Well, a lot of times what that is just extra drag or something on their arrow. So when they move their rest, it throws their bow out of tune. So
I was going to say, what that...
So it may hit the same, but a lot of times the groups will open up when you do that. So to me, as long as they're grouping good and shooting the way that I like, I'm going to sight into my broadheads. And then I'll usually will know where my field tips hit. So if I want to check my bow with a field tip, I can do that. Say at 80 yards, I've got a dial to like 82 or 78 with a field tip, or they hit 4 inches left at 60 or whatever it is. I know where they hit. That way, if I need to check it with a field tip, I can. Usually, I always have either extra broadheads or practice heads with me to check that. Anytime I'm sighting in my hunting bow, I'm doing it with broadheads. I'm not doing it with field tips.
What about a bonus tip?
Practice. Shoot your bow.
Shoot your broadheads.
Shoot your broadheads, yes.
Yeah. Become familiar. Shoot angles, too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So a lot of guys, what they'll do is they're out here shooting on the range on flat ground like, I can kill a deer at 100 yards. Well, then go do that with a 10-mile-an-hour crosswind on a 20-degree slope with bad footing and tell me you can still hit the same as you can on flat ground with nerves going on. Everything changes in a hunting situation, so that's why we practice so much. If you can shoot a 2-inch group in practice, you may be able to shoot a 4 or 6-inch group on an animal.
It's a lot different when you get in the field, loose footing. How about the fact that you're exhausted, you've already went 10 miles on the day, you're carrying a heavy pack. It's 100 degrees because it's bow season, right? A lot of guys don't factor that in. We're not in a cooled environment anymore, guys. It's practice, 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 and practice how you play. So go out and shoot in 100-degree weather. Go out and climb a hill and put a target up at the bottom of the hill. Shoot after you're exhausted. A lot of guys won't go home and practice because they're like, oh man, I'm too tired. I did this today. I worked out today. I did this. Well, that's when you should practice because that's probably how hunting's going to be, right?
Yeah, you got to be ready for anything. In a hunting scenario, you never know what's going to be dealt to you, so you just got to be ready for anything that plays out.
All right, there you have it, guys. 3 must-know archery tips before you head out on your first hunt of the year. Season's here. Subscribe to this video, like this video, leave a comment. Be sure to share it with your friends if it entertained you, taught you something. And then we'll have a couple more videos before the season starts with this guy right here, the legend, Kyle Douglas. Thanks, guys.